Fun game on deck here. Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars, 46 points on the board here. Jacksonville is favored in this game, and there should be plenty of points in this game. And I think if I had players from either team, this is the game I'd be looking to fire up some players. Obviously, this Carolina defense struggled. This Jacksonville defense struggled last year, and both teams are kind of in a rebuildish type of environment. But Bryce Young, going into Jacksonville, played better than people think and remember last year. He was a top 20 quarterback. At times he struggled, and he got benched early on, came back in. I think Bryce Young is turning a corner and looking more like the number one pick that he was a couple years ago than the bust that everybody tried to make him out to be. So I think when it comes to Bryce Young, I would trust him as a QB2 right now and let him show us that he has potential for more than that. Let him show us that he can be the guy that he looked like towards the end of last year. It looked like a whole different Bryce Young. So this is a plus matchup across the board offensively for all players on Carolina, but specifically for the quarterback position, Bryce Young should have a lot of opportunity here in a high-scoring game. So feel good about Bryce Young in your super flex spot. Feel good about him as a QB2. And for your 16-team leagues or 14-team leagues, if you're desperate at quarterback and you needed to start him, I would feel good with starting him at quarterback. As far as his receiving game options, Troy McMillan, Teteroa McMillan, Tet McMillan, T-Mac, we got different names for him as well. But Teteroa McMillan obviously was a high draft pick for this team, top 10 pick for the Carolina Panthers. Going to be heavily involved and talked about by Dave Canales, who said we want to feature him as the X receiver, which I think is the right thing to do with their current setup. So Teteroa McMillan will have opportunities in this game. Now, what will he do with those opportunities? He's been making plays throughout the preseason, but kind of dealing with some hamstring stuff. So I want to see, is he fully healthy? Do they give him the full workload? I think the targets will be there. It's just about what does it look like? Does he get into the red zone or to the end zone? Is he getting 7 to 10 targets, or is this a 4 to 6 target type game? So the offseason chatter is that he's going to get fed targets. I will want to see if that matches up in a plus matchup for him. That will give me a lot of information on how to rate McMillan, if I was right about him, if I was wrong about him, if we need to change some projections. I think for now, I would rather have him as a back-end wide receiver 3. I don't fully trust him as a wide receiver 2 where he was being drafted. And then as far as Xavier Legette, he does have some flex appeal for me this week, especially because he's in a plus matchup. I talked about the hamstring injuries this offseason for McMillan. I think Legette will have some opportunities, and I think this is a better spot for him than trying to be the X receiver. Get him into space, kind of use him, in better situations, stuff that's a little closer to the line of scrimmage, so he can use his body, use his speed, use that yak ability that has the potential to unlock, use him in that more Deebo Samuel, Jaden Reed type role. So Xavier Legette here has some flex appeal to me. If you have room to leave him on your bench, feel free. But I'll be interested to see what his workload looks like, because a good workload for Legette could put him in wide receiver 3 territory very soon here. And then as far as the slot, the team traded away Adam Thielen to the Vikings, then expected Jalen Coker to take the role. Jalen Coker is on IR for the first 4 games. That leaves Hunter Renfrow, who had a strong camp but was cut by the team. So they brought him back. I'm not expecting much from Hunter Renfrow, but just something to note, because the slot does bode really well for Hunter Renfrow, and his skill set could be like a Wan'Dale Robinson-esque type play where we were seeing 4 to 6 catches from Hunter Renfrow any given week. I don't know that we see that. I'm just saying the role kind of suggests that. I'm curious to see what Renfrow looks like. As somebody who's been in starting lineups in the past during his Raider days, curious to see what it looks like for Hunter Renfrow moving forward, even with the setup that he currently has. As far as the ground game goes, great matchup. Jacksonville struggled against running backs last year. I'd anticipate that's going to happen a little bit again this year. But Chuba Hubbard walks into a great matchup, and I anticipate him having a strong game as well. So you drafted him as a mid-tier to back-end RB2. You could fire him up as a top 15 play. This week specifically, I think Chuba Hubbard will have some running room. And then also some involvement from Rico Dowdle in the passing game. I would assume that's going to be a little bit more of his role, even though, neither of them is a true pass-catching running back. I do think we'll see Rico Dowdle involved in some form or capacity. How I think this plays out, I think Chuba Hubbard has garnered at least 65 to 60% of the rushing workload. I think Rico Dowdle will probably see somewhere between 35 and 40%. That's how I see it playing out. It would be surprising to me if Chuba Hubbard was taking on 20 plus touches and Rico Dowdle was under 10 touches. That would be a surprise to me. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what I'll be looking for, to very quickly either validate or change, course correct, which is what we do in fantasy. You can course correct your thoughts. Week 1 will be it should be a little bit more telling in the usage for both these running backs. Chuba Hubbard, obviously, strong RB2 for me this week. Rico Dowdle is more of a wait and see what the role is, belongs on benches. And then as far as tight ends, JT Sanders is a little intriguing. There's been such a big rise in his, the talk about him and his role, and that he's looked sharp this camp. I want to see it because I liked JT Sanders a lot last year as a sleeper tight end too, but I want to see if he's actually startable. This is a great matchup for him. And if there is some opportunity here for him to score, be used in the red zone, there could be some fantasy value here. So JT Sanders, a little under the radar. I'm not expecting anybody to go pick him up or start him or anything, but just somebody to watch in this game, especially in the red zone. I think there might be an opportunity for him to see the end zone in this game. As far as the Jacksonville side goes, they're favored in this game, and I like a lot of the Jacksonville players in this game. Trevor Lawrence, coming off of a disappointing year last year, injury-filled year. We haven't really seen that Trevor Lawrence that we saw towards the end of his rookie year where it looked like things were going to start to come together. Or was it the end of his second year? Can't remember. But where things were starting to come together, he had a really, really nice stretch of games, and we're yet to see that Trevor Lawrence return. In comes Liam Cohen, we saw the rise with Baker Mayfield. He's from the McVay tree. We saw what he did for the Rams. So Liam Cohen has all the opportunity in the world to change this offense for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think it happens. Evan Ingram's gone, Christian Kirk is gone, and the team drafted Travis Hunter. And then you also have Brian Thomas, who the team drafted last year and played extremely well. Big body red zone, uses his speed downfield. And I think they're going to take some chances with Brian Thomas downfield. There's also been talks that he's going to be used a little bit more out of the slot, which would be crazy because I thought, you go get Travis Hunter and he would play a little bit more slot. They're talking about Brian Thomas out of the slot, which would be incredible for his value, which probably means more volume as well. So targets, if we're talking second half targets for Brian Thomas, which I know was with Mac Jones, but if we're talking second half targets, we're talking like 10 plus almost every game. Talking first half targets with Trevor Lawrence, this is under 10 a game. Which one is it? A big question mark. And Trevor Lawrence came out and said this offseason that, he has to trust Brian Thomas a little bit more. As he was watching Mac Jones do it, he realized, I can give this guy an opportunity. If you grab Brian Thomas, I think we're going to be on the right side of history. Plus matchup for him. Carolina was the worst team against the receiver position last year. And then we also get Travis Hunter, who I think is going to be a mixed bag early on. I don't know that I fully trust him in this spot, even though it's a great matchup. The good thing is it looks like the team wants to use him more as a receiver than corner. He was listed first on the depth chart with the receivers, second unit for corners. He's going to play both sides. That's a part of the deal with Travis Hunter. But I think early on, if we can get some good volume out of Travis Hunter, it'll give us a little bit of reason to trust him in starting lineups. For now, he's a risky flex, risky back-end wide receiver 3. I'd prefer to leave him on benches for a stronger option, but this is a great matchup, and who knows what he'll do in his debut. I mean, he's a great receiver. We saw it at Colorado. Will win one-on-one opportunities, and he'll probably get some chances this week. As far as the running backs go, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, it's going to be a mixed bag here. Travis Etienne, the presumed starter, probably more involved in the passing game. Probably fits Liam Cohen's system a little bit better than Tank Bigsby does. But then Tank Bigsby also in his own right has had a strong preseason and been talked up by Liam Cohen as well. So a lot here to be determined. We don't know exactly what this thing looks like. And I think we'll get a little bit of clarity on the situation come Sunday, come this game. And for me, I trust Travis Etienne a little bit more, higher draft pedigree, can be utilized a little bit more than just Tank Bigsby is a little bit more between the tackles runner, a little bit more red zone specialist. I think Travis Etienne can be used in the passing game. You can get him out in space. So for me, I trust Travis Etienne a little bit more. He'd be a back-end RB2 for me. Tank Bigsby is going to be more of a touchdown-dependent flex RB3. I don't know that I fully trust Tank Bigsby until I see utilization be 10 to 12 carries each game. As far as tight end goes, very sneaky tight end. I think Brenton Strange belongs in the tight end 2 radar. He might even be out there in waivers in your league. But Brenton Strange is the type of tight end I think will have a big role. 2nd round pick. And Carolina struggled against tight ends last year. And so I think Brenton Strange will have opportunity. You know, Trevor Lawrence did throw a lot to Evan Ingram while he was there. Evan Ingram was a high volume play. And we saw what Cade Otton was for Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay. I think that there's going to be chances for Brenton Strange to actually have a strong year. So he played well down the stretch and at times last year once Evan Ingram was hurt. I'd expect that to continue. I do trust Brenton Strange as a tight end 2, not yet tight end 1 range, but he's more like, I would say mid-tier to high end tight end 2.